14,103. Wanting to set the right direction for my study. Question. Until now, I believed I was putting into practice the principles of the cup. Right actions, practice centers, sacred grounds, workplaces, and the study of interpersonal connections. Looking back, however, I mistook action itself for true study, and I now realize that I judged and interfered without truly knowing. The master once told me that while I am diligent, I have not yet found the right direction for my study, and those words resonate with deep weight before this current roadblock. Right now, I am asking myself whether I am studying correctly, or if my discernment and practice have been distorted by my own greed. Master, what must I correct first? And with what attitude should I live to pass through this blockage and establish the right direction for my study? Also, when you mentioned that I am diligent, did that carry the nuance that my judging and interfering without proper knowledge was precisely the contradiction that led me to lose my direction? I earnestly ask for your teachings. Thank you.
Not trying to force things right is precisely what leads you right. What we call trying to fix or correct things right now is simply locking ourselves into another fixed mindset. Once you lock yourself in, because of the effort and energy you put into holding that position, it doesn't easily disappear. When we study, we simply need to expose ourselves cleanly and receive things cleanly. If you are going out somewhere to work diligently, then just work diligently. There is no need for calculation, and acting strictly according to a fixed mold is not true diligence. You must be present and sincere toward the current environment, staying stuck in your own subjective views and merely holding your ground isn't diligence. Because you are fixated, energy that should be coming in cannot enter, and because you are closed off, you cannot project your energy outward. You might do the job well, doing work itself, but just doing work doesn't mean it automatically benefits you. Work is merely a stepping stone. It is a tool for me to make myself useful to another person so that we can draw closer. Once we become close, we need to understand why we brought ourselves together. Human beings draw close to another person to hear what that person has to say. So, becoming close is about creating an environment where a word can be exchanged. Giving money little by little to someone who lacks it is just an act to build closeness between you and that person. Money itself isn't the help. Because an opportunity to create better conditions arrived, spending a bit of money simply builds the condition for closeness. It is a stepping stone. You can never truly help someone with material things alone, nor does working hard for them mean you are genuinely helping them. When I need to approach someone, if the situation calls for work, I must work. If it calls for bringing bread, I bring bread. I bring money to someone who needs money so that I can draw closer. People call this helping them. If you want to go to someone in hardship, you carry the obligation to help relieve a bit of their struggle as you approach them. If you can't do that, don't go. If you go to a person in hardship dressed up impeccably, carrying delicious food, and eating it all by yourself, will they like you? You shouldn't go like that. The qualification to visit someone in distress comes from seeing what their difficulty is and bringing something to address it. But why do we seek out people in hardship in the first place? Because I don't know why that hardship came to them, and because the same thing could happen to me. A connection, a code, has been plugged in. Because that connection is made, I need to study there. Only then will I avoid ending up the same way. Why do I meet someone who is struggling? Because a code has arrived indicating that I, too, could become worn down and struggle. To use an analogy, people get certified as care workers, claiming they are doing social welfare, and they go to people in hardship. They think they are doing good deeds by working as care workers for struggling people. You foolish ones, you are not going there to do good deeds. You are going to someone who cannot freely move their own body even if they have money. You were sent there so you can study and avoid becoming like that yourself. That is why you were sent. And to go there, wouldn't you need to be short on money yourself? Why do you claim you went to help others when you went there to earn money? Since you lacked money, going there allows you to earn money, and it places you in a meeting environment. It was sent to educate you through this, not for no reason. So, because you do your work sincerely and study well, they provide you with the necessary living expenses. How wonderful is it to receive living expenses while being educated? What happens if you study hard? You won't end up like the person you see right in front of you today, someone who has no choice but to rely on a care worker. Are people going there after conducting these proper studies? If you look at the number of people in South Korea who have obtained care worker certificates and are currently active, it is around 3 million. At first it was 100,000, then it grew to 300,000, then 700,000, then 1 million, 2 million, and now it probably exceeds 3 million people working as care workers. What is the next stage? Those very people will turn into the ones who need care assistance themselves. While helping these people in their hardship, shouldn't we be learning so that we don't end up in that same condition? Why did this person end up like this? That requires study. When a care worker helps them, even while receiving help, the patient often has a terrible, nasty temper. You are experiencing this firsthand. Then people complain about the patient again. This situation is showing you, because my temper was this bad, I ended up sitting here relying on your hands. If you don't realize this, you will become just like me. If those 3 million people turn into individuals who need care workers, won't we then need 6 million care workers? Are we going to keep this vicious cycle going continuously? Everything in this society provides us with materials to study and research. If you don't study this but instead grumble, complain, and harbor dissatisfaction, you must realize that you are walking down that exact same path. Look at how many hospitals have sprung up in this country. People don't even know what illness actually is. There are stages before a disease appears. And how do those stages progress? Difficulties arrive first. Where? Difficulties don't come from hospitals. They come from the home and from society. Then why do difficulties arise at home and in society? Because living incorrectly creates circumstances that make life hard, so things become difficult. It starts with hardship and struggle. That is built within our daily lives when we live incorrectly. And without proper education, we have no choice but to live incorrectly. When that minor struggle crosses the line and accumulates to reach a threshold, what happens? When it becomes extremely painful, what do we become? That's when we turn into patients. When you become a patient, where do you go? You go to churches and temples. 100% of the people going to churches and temples go because they have become patients. That is the primary hospital. So, if you just waste time there, and because coming into contact with a different environment makes you feel a bit better, you don't study. As time passes, what happens? The pressure builds up in the patient and they have to move to the next stage, where they become a sick person, the diseased. Once you become a sick person, where do you go? To the hospital. It's a set course. Getting into difficulty at home and in society, becoming a patient, going to churches, temples, or seeking spiritual leaders, hanging around those places without studying or relieving the internal pressure. It builds up until you turn into a sick person. Once you are sick, you must go to the hospital. This is the course South Korea is stepping through. Why are people made to walk this course? So that they study. You went to the temple to study why you became distressed. You were sent to church to study why you had no choice but to become a patient. But instead, people pray, "Oh Lord, grant me this and that." You need to take care of yourself first. They claim they are taking refuge in the Buddha. What refuge? You take care of yourself first. And when people were sent there, because they didn't live with proper respect and manners, their lives became hard. So why are they bowing so diligently to a piece of stone? For our people to bow their heads to something, they must break all their pride. That is what it means to be descendants of heaven. Descendants of heaven are not people who bow their heads recklessly. These days, bowing down has become as casual as eating a meal. What fine descendants of heaven indeed! It is all meant for study, to know what study to do under what circumstances, and what study to undertake when we make mistakes and end up in certain environments. Yet, when we become sick and go to the hospital, what do they do for us? They give us treatment, but it's just repairs. They diagnose where the body hurts, fix it up, and send us away. Once a person goes to the hospital, they have to keep going back. Why? They went there to study why they became sick, but no one educates them, nor do they study it themselves. They just get temporary repairs and feel better, so after a little time passes without having studied, the pain returns. Then, they have to go back again. They keep going from then on. When that's not enough, they get sent to a larger hospital. South Korea is walking this very path. When something breaks down in your body, there is a clear reason, a reason rooted in how you lived incorrectly. If a specific internal organ malfunctions, a certain percentage of it broke down because of a specific mistake in how you lived. When your face looks strange or twisted, it's because your temper was nasty. When internal organs break down, it's because you were stubborn to an extreme degree. When you look down on others, a specific part breaks down. When you live arrogantly thinking you are all that, another part goes wrong. Our human bodies were designed precisely like this, to give us physical signs when we act wrongly. Yet, looking at it, people haven't done a single shred of this study. With just a little effort, everything would turn around completely. It's about things like this. Right now, your feeling of being stuck or frustrated isn't because of anything else. Frustration comes because, as an intellectual yourself, you have drawn certain lines or standards. You are overly bound by them. You are carrying out your activities incorrectly. You act while bound to those lines, which is why the more time passes, the more frustrated you feel. Just let go completely. That is what it means to let go. When you meet someone, there is a reason for meeting them, so just get along well with them. When you encounter an environment and do something in it, simply get along well with those around you. Encountering an environment means you were brought to meet certain people. When you get along well with them, everything resolves itself. Do not search for what the right path is. You are given all kinds of paths to study through, so just accept them and enjoy your time. Live enjoyably. If you meet many people with lower levels of knowledge, listening well to what they have to say is precisely what a person with knowledge ought to do. For a knowledgeable person, listening attentively to the struggles and expressions of someone lacking knowledge is their duty. By listening to them and absorbing that weight of energy, your own insights burst forth and wisdom opens up. Then you can see the path to lead them. You cannot guide people in hardship correctly without listening to their words. Listen to them cleanly and openly, realizing, I didn't know they were struggling this much. As you encourage them to keep talking, and as you become a good listener who genuinely receives what they pour out from their inner knots, that person is actually being healed right then and there. When you contribute to society in this way, step by step, these actions accumulate and miraculous things will start happening to you. You are a person of knowledge, an intellectual. An intellectual is someone who must contribute something to this society. To do something for society, you must absorb a lot from the environment given to you so that your actual task becomes clear. People with great wealth hold it so they can do something for the world. People with great knowledge possess it so they can accomplish something for the world. And those who are uneducated remain uneducated so they can learn what they don't know from those who have acquired knowledge. This is mutual connection and flow. Good-looking people shouldn't look down on less attractive people. They should be grateful that some of that burden was taken off them and given to make them attractive, and they should try to do what the other person cannot do. That is how we create a world worth living in. If God made someone attractive and they just sit still while people bring them everything, while another person was made plain and has to dig the ground until their back breaks just to eat a single sweet potato, if the attractive person fails to fulfill their role in the end, that is how the saying great beauty brings a tragic fate comes to pass. Handsome people were made attractive so they would perform high-quality work, while less attractive people were given lower-quality, hard-working tasks to carry out diligently. If you perform high-quality work well, the lives of the ordinary people who work hard will improve. Different tasks were assigned to each of you. But if you just live arrogantly thinking you're special, you'll get hit hard in the end. It's about things like this. As intellectuals coming out to study society, do not draw lines with your knowledge. Simply engage with it directly and try living enjoyably. Just have fun with it. Then, your path will naturally find itself.